So, E3 2021 just happened, and even though there's been some massive changes, like taking the last year off, or how the show even presents itself, it seems like general E3 opinions have stayed the same. Everyone's whining on social media that the show sucks and they're waiting for Nintendo to save the whole conference, and then Nintendo saves the conference for those people by showing off a new game for an old franchise. And there's always some big new surprise games shown off that everyone's interested in, but then they're sick and tired of because said games overstay their welcome and invade multiple conferences. Hello, Ubisoft and Square. Glad to see you're still doing the same old shtick. And then Grandpa Nick gets excited at the most random nonsense out there.
Here's a little something you might like.
Yeah! Green thing! Give me the green thing! Yes! That was literally the only time I freaked out during any of the conferences. And I know some of you think I'm quite pessimistic when I don't have a script in front of me, and yeah, I tend to be. But I gotta be honest, I had a pretty fun time with this E3, and I was very surprised to see how negative a lot of other people were. But looking back at Randy Pitchford's greasy face, kissing up to Hollywood elite while we could have been watching Devolver Digital instead, I kinda get it. A lot of people seem to fixate on what they expected but didn't get, or in Randy's case, genuinely awful showings, or if you're a part of the Sonic fan base, the lighting of 10-year-old Wii games. But I'm here to tell you there was a lot out there worth checking out, and I thought, well, maybe this might be a fun time to show you this particular world through my eyes. Maybe help give you some insight to my own weird interests, or help you take notice to something you might have actually missed. So yeah, I just want to talk about some weird trailers, so let's get into it. Let's start off with Tinykin. Pikmin is one of those Nintendo series that's popular enough to get a new title every few years, or at the very least stay in the consciousness of fans, but it's not popular enough to attract a whole lot of clone games. We have a couple every now and then, but nothing we've seen a whole lot of, which is kind of strange when you consider all the other big end staples generally cause genres to just pop up overnight. Pikmin is pleasant enough, but I've never really enjoyed how little Olimar actually controls and moves around in the game world himself. I haven't played a whole lot of the Pikmin games, but it just feels like I move the character around just to throw other little characters around, and that's all the real interaction I'm actually doing. Maybe I need to play a little bit more of the games, but I've never really seen the point of Olimar when a pointer would do just the same in any old RTS. But Tinykin seems to solve the problem of Olimar for me, making your character far more active in the moment-to-moment gameplay. It actually looks like a platformer. And it also keeps that giant world aesthetic, but mixes in hand-drawn animated sprites, and it comes together to form a game that caught enough of my attention to the point where I'm genuinely excited to check this out. And speaking of clone games, Fallen Aces is a Doom clone with a film noir twist, and it proudly wears that on its sleeve. The game's website is literally doomnoir.com. And yeah, I'll be honest, I'm mostly here because I just have a soft spot for old school 3D games, and this is yet another 3D world with 2D sprites. And to be quite blunt, those sprites are kind of ugly, but I love walking around in a hand-drawn art style. And it kind of reminds me of LucasArts' overlooked classic Outlaws. And this style looks like it's backed up with a healthy dose of substance. The gameplay looks fresh and fun. You can't go retro just for the sake of going retro. There has to be something else worth exploring, both visually and mechanically. FPS games have evolved so much over the years, but the little I'm seeing from Aces is showing me that there's reasons to re-examine the old ways, because it looks like there's still new ways to have fun there. I also have to give a quick shout out to Moolander. Now that marionette-styled animation and the art direction itself really aren't doing it for me, but it's cows versus UFOs. And I don't know why you play video games, but this is why I play video games. And let's switch over our focus to Cruise and Blast. This caught me completely off guard. I had missed this while I was trying to set up my disastrous stream of Nintendo's E3 showcase, so I did a double take when I had heard, just casually, that Cruisin' was coming back, and in a 2021 E3 showcase for Nintendo. What is this timeline? Now, that alone is interesting. I've always had a soft spot for the series, but this is doubly interesting for me because this is a port of the 2017 game released in arcades. Yes, I said that right. Released in arcades. Those still exist, and they're generally dominated by one name, Raw Thrills. Now, I need to do more research, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any of their games that have ever made it to consoles prior to this point. And if that is the case, there's plenty more I'd love to see make their way onto home machines. animals. And that's not a desire I've had since the late 90s. What a time to be alive. And honestly, I think it's a little strange that more of gaming YouTube doesn't talk about modern arcade games. Maybe it's just because it's such a hard time to capture it, but I think it's strange that this is so widely overlooked by gaming media. So maybe that's something you'd like to see from me. Let me know. But yeah, back to the game itself. Look at this. It's got dinosaurs. This looks fun. It's cruising. It's mindless racing. You're there for the spectacle. And man, I love me some arcadey spectacle. But I have to wonder, will they allow you to explode animals on your car? Now look, I probably don't need to say this, but let's say it anyway. I love actual animals. I do not advocate the harm of animals. Don't be a sicko and run over animals. That said, digital exploding deer is hilarious. It's crass and immature, but man, I laughed like a buffoon the first time I played Cruis'n USA and sent a deer's head flying into a cow pasture. But they always remove that cartoony violence from the N64 ports. So now that we're getting Cruis'n Blast on the home consoles, I have to wonder, are they keeping the exploding steer from that game? Will we finally break that trend? Will you finally let me go explode animals with cars? And on a more serious note, could this potentially lead to more classic Midway racers getting home ports? I certainly can't be the only one who'd love to see that, but we'll get into arcade conversations for a different time. For now, Cruis'n Blast is coming home, and I am going to pick that up the moment it does. But you might be tired of me talking about all these smaller games, so let me for a second sing the praise of Atomic Heart. Now, while I was genuinely impressed with Xbox's showing for E3, I gotta say I was probably most excited to see Atomic Heart get some attention. I've known about this game for years, but considering most recaps don't even mention this game, and some of the ones that do act like this is the game's world premiere, that tells me that not enough people are paying attention to this project, and that needs to change. This carries the torch of BioShock in all the right ways. It's an alternate universe 1950s USSR, it's got surreal enemies, locations, and weapons, and it all looks amazing, and I hope it's amazing to play. I've been rooting for this one for a long time, and just seeing Microsoft show it off tells me that it's still on the right path, regardless of how long it's taking, and I'll wait as long as it takes for this to finally come out, as long as they do it correctly. And also, at Xbox's show, while I expected it, I was still happy to see it, and that's Psychonauts 2. And yes, we've known about it prior to this point, and I don't care. I can't believe a sequel to this game actually exists. Psychonauts is one of my all-time favorite games, and I have to imagine that sentiment is shared by most people who have played their way through the original. It's one of the most unique gaming experiences out there, mixing in very solid traditional 3D platforming with a fun array of powers, incredibly sharp comedy, memorable characters, and world design just unmatched. I love that game. I love it so much. Yes, we will do an unapologetic about it. But for now, for God's sakes, Psychonauts 2 is coming out. It has a release date. It's real. We're at the finish line. Let's get there. Let me play it, Tim. Give it to me right now. This is going to be on Game Pass. Everybody play this, for God's sakes. And speaking of sequels I am actually excited about, I also want to mention real quick something that was kind of shoved under the rug back when it was announced at Summer Games Fest a few days ago. Jurassic World Evolution 2. This has been overlooked if you're not a Jurassic fan, but man, it is satisfying to know more of this game is coming. And yes, fellow Jurassic fans, I too want a Jurassic Far Cry or a Trespasser that actually runs well. I want to experience this franchise in gaming with more than just park builders and Legos. But Frontier is a talented studio, and this is their wheelhouse. I personally don't want this studio working on a different genre. I want them to perfect the one they're already good at, because as much as I love the first game, and as much as I disagree with Dan Stapleton's IGN review, there is room for improvement, especially from a team that knows what they're doing in the genre. They're unmatched, and Jurassic World deserves as much attention here as their other projects. The fact that we're showing off the Mosasaur as a big deal tease at the end of that first trailer tells me that they're paying attention to their fan base. So I'm really excited to see how they expand upon these ideas. And I just hope, Frontier, if you port this to Switch, you wait until they bring a better model out the door, because that blurry crap is not gonna fly again. Now let's move on to another show that I feel like a lot of people overlooked because it wasn't on the main E3 stream, and that's Devolver Digital. But if you haven't watched the presser for yourself, go do that. It's worth watching just for the show itself. It's brilliantly written and edited, and punches the industry right in the face with sharp, intelligent criticism, while still managing to show off unique game experiences, such as Death's Door. Now, I'm not a fan of the pulled back, top-downy isometric look for games. But when you throw in a Corvid protagonist, some smooth action, excellent character design, well, that's enough to catch my attention and give that a shot anyway. This game honestly looks like a blast to play, and I can't wait to play it. And speaking of genres I don't normally give a second glance to, Inscription managed to capture my attention, which is impressive as it seems to be a mix of tabletop games and card games, and I hate all of those. I'm sorry, I know I have friends that absolutely adore that. It's just not for me, and you're not gonna convince me, guys. Dustin, stop getting me these things. They look nice on my shelf, but I'm never gonna play them. But I gotta say, the unique horror aesthetic here looks fantastic. And I doubt it's gonna be a basic ass card game, because it's made by the dude who did Pony Island. So I imagine there's a lot more than what we're seeing. I enjoy this sinister tone, and I'm very excited to see how this experience plays out. This is the kind of trailer I only ever want to watch once. I don't want to watch more gameplay footage. I don't need any more previews. I want to go in as fresh as possible for this experience. There was other stuff with Devolver, but those were the two that stood out to me the most. And again, go check that show out for yourself if you haven't yet. And with all that out of the way, let's take the last chunk of time talking about yet another conference that a lot of people missed. And that was the conference of limited run games, which will interest anybody who is a sucker for collecting physical releases like I am. You could have been watching this instead of Capcom's whole lot of nothing. Some of my personal highlights: an announcement of a physical edition of Dusk, a Quake throwback with the horror theme to it, and man, I've been tempted to play this for a long time, and I have run out of excuses now that I can put it on my shelf. There was also Going Under, which looks like corporate art come to life, and I think that was intentional considering the theme of tearing down an office. And I don't know if this is roguelike or like a brawler dungeon style mix-up, but it looks like a lot of fun. You can use anything as a weapon. It seems hilarious. I don't know. I didn't do any research on this. I just watched the trailer and was sold on it. There was also The Takeover, which I did do a little bit of research on, because while this is a beautiful 90s throwback, I was surprised to learn that this was basically made by one dude and produced and written by Matt McMuscles. And I can't lie, that boosts up my own personal interest because I find that personally inspiring. It hasn't occurred to me that YouTubers can reach out and attempt to help the industry that they talk about so often. I know it's happened before, but I know how passionate Matt is about stuff like this, and I'm genuinely curious to see what he brings to the table, because I think he's going to bring some incredible stuff here, and The Takeover already had my attention before I knew that. So while I may not know how to work on a real video game project, until I do figure that out, I'm happy to support this because it looks amazing. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably more excited for Skatebird. It's Tony Hawk with birds. You kidding me? That's it. That's all you need to tell me. I'm sold. It actually looks like you have a little flapping mechanic there. I don't know if that makes staying in the air a little bit easier or if they work into that mechanic in any kind of a way, but it looks solid, it looks smooth, and it looks adorable, and I love stupid premises like this. Again, this is why I play video games. I also noticed that there's Thrasher imagery in the background there. I don't think I've seen them actually promote their stuff in video games for a minute. They used to make skateboarding games on top of all the other skating stuff they do, but after Tony Hawk, I guess they just threw their hands up in the air and said, this video game crap is for the birds. Zombies Ate My Neighbors are getting green cartridges! Yeah, no, I'm excited for what I want to be excited about. I don't give a crap. I don't need to tell you, whatever. I'm gonna be excited about this. I don't care. Yeah, this is one of the last things we're talking about. Whatever. This is my list. This is why I like video games. Yeah, I don't really care about the game itself. It's just a ROM on an old cart. But I love it, and I'm going to buy it. I just don't know if I'm gonna get the Genesis version or SNES version. I'm gonna get both of them. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna get both of them. Like, honestly, Zombies Ate My Neighbors was one of those games I really wanted to like as a kid, because the box art was just so goofy and tacky, and the premise alone was hilarious. But again, your boy wasn't a big fan of top-down action games, and yeah, it was a challenging game, so I'm gonna give it another shot on original hardware, and I'm excited to do that. Yes, I know I could get bigger, fancier editions with all this extra crap, but eyes on the prize, baby. Your boy wants some green cartridges. I also want that green Zelda Game & Watch, but like, I figured you guys already knew that because I screamed about it. It's kind of weird that that they don't actually put the actual Zelda Game & Watch game on there, right? Is that just me? Am I crazy there? Like, that was a great opportunity. That one and the Mario one. Why didn't they just, put stop in them? Just put it on there. Okay, and that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to talk about real quick. I know I missed some other stuff, but I only have so much time. I have a whole lot of other videos to get done, and yes, I'm obviously excited for bigger stuff like Breath of the Wild 2 and Elden Ring, but I'm not about to get another copyright claim from Bandai Namco, so no thank you. But what were you guys hyped for? Did I maybe spark your interest in something outside of an old Sonic game getting re-released? See anything here you didn't know about before? Are you angry at me for not talking about a particular game you think I'd really enjoy? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to see more. I just want more games. There's so many games out there. And let me know if you like this video. I know it's very different from what I usually do, but hey, I want to talk about other stuff every now and then. I obviously love Sonic, but like I just showed you, there are a lot of video games worth talking about, and even the wider gaming audience seems to be overlooking a lot of stuff. And, you know, I think there's a lot worth celebrating, especially this past week. There's no way you're gonna play all the games they showed off there, and it might suck if a particular game you've been excited for wasn't announced, but why don't you use that energy and that time to go check out a more unique project that really deserves your time? I'm sick and tired of hidden gems. I'm sick and tired of amazing games getting ignored from the same generic crap we get over and over again. And yes, I'm a fan of generic crap too, don't get me wrong, but let's celebrate the unique and weird and wonderful stuff that deserves attention now, not 15 years later in a YouTube top 10 video or some nonsense like that. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna get back to work on, surprise, Sonic stuff. So stick around for that, because his birthday is gonna be a very exciting time on this channel. And thank you so much to the patrons who've been supporting me, all you guys who've been enduring my nonsense for the longest time, and all you new guys that have just been showing up. Thank you. It means the world to me. And other self-promotion crap. I got a Twitch now. Go follow me on twitch.tv/gameapologist. I do still do streams on YouTube, but I'd like to just eventually just move all of that over to Twitch. So if you have fun hanging out with me, you can do that over there. We also have a Discord where I hang out a whole lot of the time. I'm going to stop talking now because, again, I got a lot of editing to do and not a lot of time to do it. So until next time, toot toot gamers.